Welcome back into Wake Up America. I'm Rob Finnerty. Kim Jong-un making his first trip outside the hermit kingdom of North Korea in nearly 4 years, pledging his full and unconditional support to Russia 19 months into the war in Ukraine. For a reaction, let's welcome in the chairman of the U.S. edition of Spectator magazine, Andrew Neil, and retired Air Force Brigadier General, NATO rep, and Newsmax contributor Blaine Holt. Good morning. It's great to have you back together. General, want to get your top-line reactions to this meeting yesterday. The meeting lasted for about 5 hours. An arms deal is on the table. Russia apparently low on weapons, just like the United States, trying to buy weapons from North Korea to use in Ukraine. Your reaction to that?
Yeah, this should be of great concern to everybody. We're never going to know, or we won't know initially, what the two gentlemen really agreed to. We understand that there's probably technology and missiles going from Russia over to the North Korean side, along with food and oil and whatever. But more than the kit, more than tanks, more than arms going in Russia's direction, full and unconditional support can mean a lot of things. Does it mean troops? Does it mean forces? What are the depths of the alliance? How are they going to cooperate militarily? We already have Russia-Chinese cooperation in a naval sense in the Pacific. Does that mean North Korea is going to join because they're aspirants to have nuclear submarines? So it's all very concerning, and it could leak into Europe very quickly.
Andrew, it's nice to have you back. I'm just wondering what your reaction was to this meeting, and then I'll add to that, in Spectator, Boris Johnson, former British Prime Minister, basically called for the war to continue and for funding to increase in Ukraine. So I'm wondering when or how you think this war ends.
Well, let's stick to begin with this meeting between the two dictators. We have no evidence at all that any weapons are going to go from North Korea to Russia. What Russia does want from North Korea is munitions, not weapons, but munitions. Now, there's a huge stockpile of Soviet-era munitions in North Korea. It is famously unreliable and often blows up in your face. But it has the same caliber as Russian weapons have, which are also largely Soviet era. So at least the munitions would fit the weapons. Other than that, it's not clear what North Korea is going to do. They're not going to send troops. That's just not going to happen. If they did, they wouldn't last very long. They've got very few weapons to send. This North Korean dictator is paranoid. He's not going to give up his weapons, but he thinks he's under attack all the time. So to get some munitions out of it, that would be a result. It's not a game changer. What Boris Johnson was saying was that it's time to really get behind Ukraine, give it the weapons it needs, and get this war over. That was his argument in the Spectator article. That's been his long-time position, as you know. There's no change in that. He was just having a little dig, I think, at the Biden administration and the British government as well, to say you need to do more.
Yeah, so I agree with you there, General. I want to get your reaction. I just thought it was fascinating because when I was reading it, it seemed like, well, this is exactly what he said 19 months ago when the war began. Here we are 19 months later. The geopolitical situation has changed a lot over the last nearly 2 years now. General, your reaction?
Yeah, so we've got four out there: Iran, North Korea, China, and Russia. And what do they have in common? They've all been the recipients of sanctions, and they're cooperating at a much greater rate. And so pushing off even munitions as a nothing burger is actually quite interesting to me, but they're cooperating much more deeply. We'll see where it goes. As far as the article goes, I was really stunned and taken with Boris Johnson's recollection of, grabbing credibility to himself because he managed to walk through hospitals where people had lost their limbs and how brave the Ukrainians are. But what I'd really love to ask him after writing this piece of let's have unending war with no limits on the budget, why and what was his role when we had peace talks underway in March of 2022? And let's answer a few questions about what your counsel was to Zelensky, since where this has ended up is we have no air power to finish off that line, so it's not going to a victory. So what is the end game? And what was your role in where this thing could have been in a much better place back in March of 2022?
Andrew, about 30 seconds if you want to respond to that.
Hey, listen, if you want Boris Johnson to defend his article that he wrote, get Boris Johnson onto your program. I'm not Boris Johnson's spokesman. I'm not paid or have any desire to defend what Boris Johnson writes. It's not my job to do that. So, get him on your show and don't ask me questions about what he writes. ask me questions about what I think and write, not what he thinks and writes. I'm not his puppet.
General, do you want to know what he thinks?
Yeah, I would love to know what you think. What I would love to know is how Europe is going to keep sustaining this war when they have just as big an illegal immigration problem, and they're deindustrializing at the speed of heat. And where is it that somebody thinks that we've got unlimited logistics to supply one war with Armenia cropping up?
Okay, Andrew, just about 20 seconds, please.
You don't need unlimited logistics. You've just agreed to give Iran $6 billion, get 5 hostages back. And yet last time we were on here, you were moaning and bitching about giving another $1 billion to Ukraine when Mr. Blinken was in
I don't
Kyiv.
support the $6 billion either. I think we're going to now see a lot more hostages,
$6 billion
probably
to
out of your country
Iran,
as well.
not exactly the best friend of the West. $1 billion to Ukraine, a great friend of the West, a future ally of the West, and you moan about that. I mean, get your priorities right.
I feel like we need an Andrew Neil, General Blaine Holt podcast.
We do.
Where we can really flesh out all these
We need to
issues.
meet in the
It's like
pub for a
dealing with
beer.
mad British
Yes.
left-wingers. His positions are all the positions of the British left.
All right.
It's quite remarkable how the American right is
remarkable.
now the old-fashioned Marxist British left.
Yeah.
And they're anti-West,
now I'm a Marxist.
anti-American
That's what
diatribes.
I'm gonna mention this to management.
An
I think the
amazing
podcast
change
would
in
be good.
American politics. Ronald Reagan will be turning in his grave.
Right. No. The conservative
Gentlemen, we
view
gotta
is
leave it
unlimited
there.
logistics. Let's have all the wars.
Great to have you both back on together again.
I'm sure it is.
You know, it's better TV. I don't like when everybody agrees, so it's better TV, frankly. So I
There's no
enjoyed it.
danger of that in this segment.
Andrew Neil, we'll do it again soon. I appreciate you coming back, sir.
Have a
I'll be in
great
New
day.
York to see you next week.
Yes, General Holt, as always, thank you.
Coming around personally to see you.
I think. I'm with you.